A lot of people not happy in New York City. Welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Alison Maloni. And New York City has become the first U.S. city to require visitors and residents to show proof of their COVID-19 vaccination status. And it looks like it may be inevitable and more to come. For more on this, let's bring in business and market analyst Seth Denson and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Vinoo Varghese. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, gentlemen. Seth, I want to start with you. How will New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio's announcement affect small businesses? And they've already been struggling. They just reopened, and now they're facing this.
Yeah, you know, Allison, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's estimated that over a third of all small businesses in the city won't reopen as a result of the pandemic, and this is just another blow. I mean, let's just look at the sheer numbers of this, right? Tourism specifically, I think that is a key driver of the economic system for many small business owners in New York. But also the city, listen, the city's got a $4 billion shortfall in their budget. Tourism revenue generates about $5.3 billion. So in tax revenue, so you're talking about over 600,000 jobs that were lost during the pandemic, and now many business owners are going, well, what is this going to do to my revenue? How is this going to slow me down? Quite frankly, we don't know, because the devil is in the details, and I'm sure, as the attorney is going to say here in a minute, I got to think some lawsuits are coming because small business owners, specifically employees included, also are looking to the courts probably to help solve this problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Vinoo, we've been talking about this. This is the number one question. What rights do Americans have when it comes to disclosing their vaccination status? I thought because of HIPAA, you know, nobody has to ask me to show that, but it sounds that it's different. Can you explain a little bit?
Well, I think you're actually on the right track, and I think this is a point where ultimately someone's going to come forward with the right test case that can challenge this. Somebody who perhaps has had COVID and has natural immunity. There's a study published by Emory University that was reported by Emory University last week that says COVID survivors may have long-lasting natural immunity, far more than was originally thought of. The issue here is creating a second class, a lower class of citizenry based upon forced vaccinations. You're saying to somebody who lives in New York City that if you want to go to a restaurant, you want to go to Broadway, you want to go to something indoors like a gym, which is there to promote health and never should have been shut down in the first place, that you must get vaccinated. Well, I mean, when you look at the COVID numbers, you have a 1.7 mortality rate for this country. So a disease which you have a 98.3% chance of surviving. Yeah. Why are you requiring this? That was numbers put forth on Johns Hopkins' website. I was just looking at it right before we got on here. So, you know, this doesn't make sense. And now, remember, in July, New York City had a big fireworks celebration. Yeah. Everything's open. And if you're vaccinated, you don't need a mask. Well, if you're vaccinated, why are you concerned about the unvaccinated, right? Particularly when the CDC just released a study last week that said that vaccinated people can spread the COVID or the Delta variant just as readily as unvaccinated. Yeah. So this doesn't make sense. Someone's going to challenge it. And if it goes up to the Supreme Court, I think somebody will be successful. Yeah,
I think you're right. Seth, how frightening are these restrictions? You know, we have politicians, they're making health decisions for individuals.
Well, that's right. Dr. de Blasio, I think, is that now we have to refer to him as. I mean, but no, listen, health decisions should always be between a person and their doctor. And matter of fact, I think this is kind of a theme of the left, isn't it? That is the push here. And here he's coming in and saying, and we talk about patrons. We're not talking about employees. This applies to employees as well. So, right, the EEOC has already come out and said employers can mandate the vaccine, but they have to make reasonable accommodations for people who can't get the vaccine or shouldn't get the vaccine for health reasons, and for religious purposes. Where are the details on that? Now, I know that de Blasio has already come out and said details are forthcoming for probably two reasons. This was all politics and no policy. Let's be very clear about this. This was a political stunt. This is why it doesn't go into effect until the 16th. It was to drive up vaccination rate, and maybe it's working. But nonetheless, this is light on details. There's a lot more involved in this, and it'll be interesting to see what what comes out in the days to come.
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people are wondering, where are those details? Because this is supposed to take effect in just a couple of weeks. Vinoo, we don't have much time, but Senator Kevin Cramer, he's introducing legislation requiring states that mandate vaccine passports or cards showing proof of vaccination, to also mandate voter identification. Because a lot of people are saying, look, if you need a passport to go and grab a salad, but you don't need your ID to vote.
Well, that's an interesting corollary or analogy, or trying to combine these two. I don't think that's going to work, but I think you have a situation here where eventually the courts are going to have to decide it, and I think it may be the federal courts, not New York State courts, which will probably go along with the mayor. I mean, you got to look at the mayor here. He's a mess. He's the worst mayor in the history of New York. And now, because Cuomo is going down, he can single-handedly leave his destructive mark on New York City in his last couple months in office before make as big a mess for Eric Adams before Adams comes in. So I think that's what de Blasio, his failed presidential attempt. He's trying to be the first to do something in America. And I think this is a stunt. It's going to be challenged. The details, like my colleague says, are going to be problematic here because it doesn't match. New York is not a COVID hotspot.
Yeah.
So he's telling people to wear masks inside. But that's not what the CDC said.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, great conversation, gentlemen. Thank you, Seth Denson and Vinoo Varghese. Thank you so much. Plenty more still to come. You're watching Wake Up America only on Newsmax.